You know Gray Bar for electrical parts, but there's one more thing you may not be thinking of us for that can help maximize your next project's total value. Our pre-project planning services are designed to help you win the bid, save on labor costs, and keep your installers productive across your entire build. The sooner you call us, the better. Because when we're there from the beginning, we can anticipate your needs and help you solve problems before they become problems. Yep, Gray Bar does that.
Four minor league championships have already been handed out. Two more could be handed out tonight, and we welcome you into the 76th episode of the Show Before the Show podcast from MILB.com, the home of minor league baseball. Hi, everybody. I'm Tyler Maughan, Sam Dykstra in New York City. Hi, Sam.
Hi, Tyler.
What's up?
Not too much. Just enjoying I feel like it's been an exciting playoffs.
A lot of winning. A lot of winning around these
a lot of winning going on.
We never win anymore, except for these teams that are winning.
Yeah, there's lots of losing too.
Yeah, it's true.
We never used to lose like this.
No, we didn't. Just all
losing now.
It's all the winning and all the losing, especially. Four champions already crowned in the minor leagues. The Appalachian League, the New York Penn League, the Northwest League, and the Florida State League have already crowned champions. Congratulations. We talked about the Johnson City Cardinals last week. Obviously, also champions crowned in the Gulf Coast League and the Arizona League. But as of recent ones that have been crowned since we last talked to you, the State College Spikes took out a victory in the New York Penn League's finals. The Northwest League just wrapped up last night. The Eugene Emeralds come away with a win, snapping a 41-year title drought in the Emerald Valley. And a member of the Florida State League champion Bradenton Marauders will be joining the show here coming up in just a little bit. We'll talk with number 5 Pittsburgh Pirates prospect Mitch Keller, who helped lead Bradenton to a 3-1 series victory over the Class A advanced affiliate of the New York Yankees, the Tampa Yankees. That one, I don't want to say that one was a surprise, but Tampa went in pretty hot into that series with the late season additions they had, and Bradenton just steamrolled through the playoffs. They went 5-1 through the semifinals and the finals in the Florida State League. So we'll talk with Mitch Keller here coming up in a little bit. And with that, we welcome you into this postseason edition of the Show Before the Show podcast, which you can find all over the internets. By the way, we're on iTunes, we're on Stitcher. You can find us there. You can give us a rating and a review and a subscription. And you can also find the show at MILB.com/podcast. And you can get in touch with us with your questions, thoughts, comments on prospects, on the playoffs, on everything else. You can contact us, podcast at MILB.com as well. And let's get started, Sam. Let's get started on this week.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Cranking away.
I kind of want to start strike one here. Just touching on some of these championships that you mentioned. Going a little deeper on them. I like what you said about Bradenton, because that was going to be my big talking point about them, was just looking at that team. It clinched in Game 4. You look at that Tampa team, the top of the lineup was Jorge Mateo, formerly the top prospect in the Yankee system before all the trades they made. Rashad Crawford, who they got from the Cubs, and Gleyber Torres, who they got from the Cubs. If you were to tell me which of these two teams I would be more personally excited to watch in a best-of-5 series, it definitely would have been Tampa. Mitch Keller aside, he only gets to make one start in these finals, made 2 postseason starts for the Marauders. But looking at the Bradenton lineup, it's not nearly as exciting with prospects, but that's what kind of makes, the postseason itself exciting, right? It's that, these guys who aren't necessarily showing up on prospect lists all over the place get a chance for their own personal glory. I know Connor Joe. I think we wrote a couple stories about him these playoffs. I think he's becoming a little bit of a fan favorite, if only because of his name, but he is a legit prospect. Guy hitting 5th in that Marauders lineup, at least last night. This is a guy who was a collective balance pick in 2014, hit 277 with a 743 OPS. Maybe a little bit of a name, or building himself into a little bit of a name outside of just having 2 first names. But that's what I really like about these playoffs, is that, as much as we like to dig into prospect coverage and, as very much that being our beat when we're covering these, the playoffs allow us to kind of focus a little bit more on team play and team success. And so, the Marauders, I think, kind of fulfill that. So congrats to them for pulling it out. State College Spikes, you mentioned, winning the New York Penn League. I think that makes 3 lower level affiliates of the Cardinals that have won championships this year. So the Cardinal way, for whatever that means, however you may define that, has obviously trickled down. You've got State College winning, the GCL Cardinals. We talked to one of their players last week. If you're a Cardinals fan, go back and listen to that. And then the Appy League, they win a title there as well with Johnson City. So already we're starting to see some storylines and a little bit of surprises. We'll get to the big surprise still in the AAA a little bit later. But yeah, I really appreciate just the way this postseason can take you a little bit by surprise in these games or in these series that are only best of threes, best of fives. It is an exciting part of the year, at least from that standpoint. What has kind of stuck out to you out of these teams that have kind of clinched this last week, Tyler?
You know what I was really keeping an eye on this entire postseason was the Eugene Emeralds, because that team has been so talented. They just dominated the Northwest League. But that very similarly to their parent club, they have been a team that has found a way to not win championships for a very long time. Since 1975, Eugene had not won an outright Northwest League title. They split a title with Bellingham back in 1980, but it had been 41 years since the Eugene teams of various incarnations and various affiliations had won a title on their own. And it looked like they were primed to do that. They win game one on the road. Coming home for game two, they went 54-22 in the regular season. That was 9 games better than any other team in the Northwest League. They won 15 straight at one time. They took out 2-time defending champion Hillsborough in the league semifinals, and they won game one. You figure this is it. Eugene's got it. Then they get just whooped in game two. They lose 7-1 at home, and then it all comes down to one night at PK Park, and the Emeralds get a run-scoring single in the bottom of the fifth to snap a 1-1 tie. They hold on from there, and it was really cool. Got a chance to talk to Jesus Feliciano, their manager, last night, and the thing he said that really stuck with me was talking about that championship experience for players and what it means, especially because they are a Cubs affiliate. He said, quote, "We've been talking about this the last couple of weeks. Jason McLeod, who's the Cubs Senior Vice President of Player Development and Amateur Scouting, Jaron Madison, the Director of Player Development, and Theo Epstein, of course, the General Manager, his official title, President of Baseball Operations." He said those 3 guys and all the front office, quote, "have done to the minor league system is very special. It's a lot easier to have their backs like they have our backs. They trust in us, and I think what they're doing is not just in the big leagues. They're doing something special in the minors." And that, I think on a national scale, for people who aren't necessarily involved in the prospect world the way we are, that's probably a story that flies under the radar, because everybody look at these flashy acquisitions. Look at the John Lesters. Look at the Chris Bryants. I mean, obviously he was a developed product who got to the major leagues, but those guys, the Dexter Fowlers, Anthony Rizzo was a trade acquisition when he was a young player too. People, I think, just assume when it happens at the major league level, it happens at the major league level. But the Cubs have done so much to beef up every level of that system from AAA on down. This isn't going away for a while with the Cubs. I mean, this is their lowest level affiliate of a non-complex league. This is a really good team, and this is a team that's going to continue to grow because of the reinforcements that it has coming up from its minor league system. That's what really stood out to me about that Eugene win.
Yeah, and it's not only just Eugene. Myrtle Beach is on the brink of clinching the Mills Cup in the Carolina League. They lead that series 2-1 in a best of 5. So by the time you hear this, Myrtle Beach might be another Cubs affiliate with a championship this year. I think that would be their second straight. So, yeah, we've talked about, I think last year was kind of the year where we saw the Cubs farm system crest a little bit, and for plenty of good reasons, right? I mean, Chris Bryant, Addison Russell, all these guys graduate as prospects. That's what you want them to do. Javi Baez, Wilson Contreras this year. So, you think, well, maybe it's over. Maybe it's going to be a while. Then you see Ian Happ has a really good year. Eloy Jimenez might be the breakout prospect of the year. And those aren't neither of those guys are on playoff teams. We're talking, well, Jimenez got called up to Myrtle Beach, so he's helping them. But, it's just really cool to see these Cubs, think about where they were 5-6 years ago when the Epstein regime kind of first took over, and where they are now. And I'm glad you read that quote from the Eugene manager, just because they can see it themselves. And once they start believing in themselves at the bottom levels, everybody you talk to in the minor league baseball experience says if you can carry that, if you can start it early and have them carry that, that's how you kind of develop some of these winning teams, these winning dynasties. So Cubs are, if you thought they were done laying their foundation, they're showing you they're not even maybe halfway done yet.
Strike 2 this week, Sam. The AAA leagues are on a collision course, obviously, for the national championship game, but have got some surprises at their highest levels of the minor league postseason, with the finals underway in the Pacific Coast League and in the International League. And you know where I want to start talking. Very interesting and intriguing matchup in the PCL. The Oklahoma City Dodgers and the El Paso Chihuahuas. El Paso has a 1-0 series lead there. But in the International League, I'm not even calling them the G Braves anymore. The Gwinnett Braves, the C Braves, the Cinderella Braves. That was like the cheesiest sports talk radio thing I've done on the show.
Where you were going with C.
The C Braves, man, they're making it work. Gwinnett wins their division. In case you have missed this over the last couple of weeks, Gwinnett makes it into the postseason by winning its division at 13 games under 500, and then rolls into the league's finals and grabs game 1. Gwinnett finished the regular season 65-98. They've got a 1-0 series lead over Scranton Wilkes-Barre, which went 91-52, 9 games better than any other team in the league.
Yeah, I was all set last night to just say, oh, well, Gwinnett's going to take game 1 because they have, rehabbing major leaguer Aaron Blair starting. Right. The built-in excuse. This is a little bit not fair, but, the minors are feeder system, whatever. I get it.
And he started the year in AAA this year. It's not a crazy, they didn't bring Greg Maddux out of retirement for it.
No, that's true. But it felt like, oh, this is just going to play into some, storyline of, Gwinnett's or Atlanta's trying to pump up its AAA affiliate to get a championship, whatever. But, then you have Sean Kazmar hitting a 3-run homer as part of a 6-run first, and then you're like, you don't need Aaron Blair anymore. Right. It didn't matter who was going to start on the mound. They get that 7-4 win. So, yeah, G Braves keep on fighting. Kind of interesting note in that series. The first 2 games are in Scranton Wilkes-Barre. The last 3 are in Gwinnett. I wish I kind of knew exactly how that worked out off the top of my head, but somehow Gwinnett will end up with home field advantage if it goes 5 games. Which will be kind of fascinating. So, yeah, the G Braves getting off to the start there that pretty much none of us expected them, or us. None of us expected them to be this far in the first place. And like we said last week, now the only thing left to do is just go out and win the whole dang thing. I'll pivot a little bit just to the PCL.
Let me just jump in real quick on the International League because you mentioned Sean Kazmar. He is my favorite story of these playoffs because Sean Kazmar is kind of the definition of a journeyman. He's 32 years old. He's one of those guys who you click on his baseball reference page. He's got 1 line listed under his major league stats. He played 19 games for the Padres in 2008. And then you click on the minor/winter league/whatever stats, and this is what it looks like. Drafted and started in professional baseball in 2004. 5th-round pick out of the College of Southern Nevada. He's now 32 years old. He's played in Eugene, Fort Wayne. He played in West Oahu when the Hawaiian Winter League was still a thing. Lake Elsinore, San Antonio. He went to the AFL with Peoria in 2008. Portland, when Portland, Oregon was still a minor league city. Back in 2009 and 2010, he was there in the Padres system. Tacoma in 2011, went to the Mets organization in Binghamton and Buffalo in 2012, and then he's been with the Braves since 2013. So this is not a hotshot prospect. This is a very cool story for a guy who, the baseball days, as they're numbered for everybody, they're a little bit more numbered for a guy who's 32 years old and is on that other side of the age of 30 as a professional athlete. Sean Kazmar in this postseason, through 5 games for Gwinnett, is batting .476 with a 1431 OPS, 3 homers, 7 runs batted in. He's 10 for 21. He is such a cool story, and he's been the heart of this team so far, which is really, really neat.
Yeah, for sure. I always get a kick out of guys who are still in the minors who play for teams that no longer exist.
Yeah, definitely.
So Sean Kazmar, played for the Portland Beavers in 2009, 2010, just to give you an idea. No, I mean, it doesn't feel like that long ago. That's 6 years, 7 years ago, but it still puts it a little bit in perspective.
West Oahu, by the way, they were the Cane Fires in the Hawaiian Winter League back in 2006. The Cane Fires. I assume sugar cane, right?
Yes.
Doesn't sound like a thing you would really want to tout, though. Plain fire.
Hey, the entire thing is on fire.
Some other names who were on that team, just in case you're wondering what the Hawaiian Winter League was like. For Major League position players, John Mayberry and Will Venable were on that team. Pitchers, they were actually pretty loaded with pitching. Jabba Chamberlain, Ian Kennedy, Mark Melanson, they were all on that team. So some pretty decent talent that went through that club.
Yeah, I kind of wish we still had the Hawaiian.
Yeah, I know. Me too.
That would be a
sweet
fun
gig
live
for one
podcast.
of us to go. Exactly. Let's run that up the chain.
Let's go to Hawaii and investigate what the Hawaiian Winter League was like. We'll come report back.
Yeah.
It'll be a business trip.
Yeah. Somebody fund this for us. Sounds like a great idea.
Somebody.
We will only stay in 5-star resorts.
No,
please.
We have standards, darn it. No, just so we don't completely neglect the PCL.
To the PCL.
Yeah. In that series, El Paso took a 1-0 lead. They beat Oklahoma City last night 7-5. Carlos Asuaje was the star in the first game of that best of 5 championship series. That El Paso team, I am a big fan of. They've got just chock full of prospects, names you will actually know. Manuel Margot led off last night, followed by Asuaje, followed by Austin Hedges, who, if you remember, had that crazy run middle of the year this year. Seems like he is still the Padres catcher of the future. He's not technically a prospect anymore, too much major league service time, but still a guy who is really good defensively and can run through a really good offensive stretch, especially in AAA like this. Hunter Renfroe, we've talked about a bunch, PCL MVP. Patrick Kivlahan, former really good prospect in the Mariners system, then got moved to the Rangers, now in the Padres. So that team just filled with lots of really good talent. But Oklahoma City, I wouldn't exactly sleep on them either. They brought up Cody Bellinger in the kind of a similar situation to Bradenton bringing up, Mitch Keller, or Myrtle Beach bringing up Eloy Jimenez. Cody Bellinger was brought up just before the regular season ended, got a little bit of time with OKC, and now is their starting first baseman in the playoffs. Obviously, the Dodgers' top prospect. They also made a little bit of news. They brought up Alex Verdugo. He could help them in the outfield, although he did not play in Game 1. Again, I think that might be just to get him a taste of AAA action so he knows what to expect next year. But also, hey, if you've got the talent in the system and Verdugo is easily a top 100 prospect, shown a lot when even he was one of the youngest players in the Texas League this year, getting that bump now to OKC, you might as well use it. So we'll see if they can even it out, try to push forward to Memphis next week. Just quick, Tyler, let's just, for the heck of it, because we're a sports show, this is what sports shows do. We're already
cheesy
one game
nicknames
behind
like
us.
Sea Braves.
What?
They come up with cheesy nicknames like Sea Braves.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Or cheesy headlines in our picks. But let's just give our picks. So out of those 4 teams, who do you think makes it to Memphis, and who do you think wins it all?
Man, I think Gwinnett's going. There's also some late breaking news, and we talked about Aaron Blair making the start, as a major league rehabber. The Braves actually just acquired a former ranked prospect and a guy who was one of the biggest head scratchers in minor league baseball over the last several years, but a right-hander named Joe Wieland, who was a very high draft pick of the Texas Rangers several years back in, I believe, 2009. But Wieland has been with the San Diego Padres, the Los Angeles Dodgers, the Seattle Mariners. The Braves just acquired him, and Mark Bowman of MLB.com tweeted, quote, "Wieland will give Gwinnett depth through the end of the playoffs." Joe Wieland is the type of guy who you can ride for 7 shutout innings. I mean, he is a very, very capable starter. That gives Gwinnett another person to ride. They only need 2 more wins to make it through and win an International League crown. They're at such a crazy level right now. How are they not going to win it? I got Gwinnett making it out of the International League, and I do think El Paso makes it out of the PCL because they've gotten hot bats going when they've really needed them this offseason or this postseason. You mentioned Manny Margot and how good he's been. Hunter Renfroe came through with a massive homer for them in the finale, the semifinal set against Tacoma. So I got those 2 teams in Memphis.
All right, so you went ahead and took mine.
Okay.
I think we're kind of in agreement.
Because podcast synergy. We have group mind here. We're like an old married couple.
I think we reached that about 34 episodes ago. But we're just continuing. That's all. Yeah. But yeah. No. I hate to say it now because it's so easy. It's like, oh, Game 1's already behind us. So all Gwinnett and El Paso each have to do is just win 2 more games and they're in. I get that, but it seems like Gwinnett is just so much on a roll here. Scranton actually just had Mason Williams promoted, so they lose a pretty good talent in their outfield. They still have a decent amount of talent, notably Clint Frazier is there. But with Gwinnett having, like I said, home field advantage those last 3 games, even if they lose game 2, even if they lose game 3, they still have game 4 and game 5 at home. And El Paso, again, I really like that lineup so much that it's tough to find an easy out at the top of that lineup. And in the PCL, where you need a good offense, they certainly have one. So I think they're really primed to make it. I'll take El Paso for the win in Memphis.
Okay.
Again, just based on talent, to say that they know what it's like to play in Memphis is just that's kind of interesting. And I would love to hear some quotes from guys on if there's an advantage having, knowing what it's like to play in a certain park when you're going for the AAA national title. So a couple different things, but I'll take the Chihuahuas to win the whole thing, and tune in next week to see if we were right.
I'm going to take the Sea Braves because I came up with the nickname Sea Braves for
I know,
it.
you got to ride that forever.
And
man.
you know what else it stands for? Champion Braves.
Oh. You've been chewing on that for like 15 minutes.
I actually just thought of that, and I'm very proud of it. Strike 3, Sam, this week. Throughout all the levels, we are nearing the end of many series. Like we said, 2 more series could conclude tonight in the Carolina League and the Southern League. Myrtle Beach is up, only needing 1 more win to take its 2nd straight Carolina League title. Jackson, the AA affiliate of the Seattle Mariners, up 2-0 in the Southern League. They only need 1 more win there. But as far as prospects go, who has done the most to up his prospect profile and stock during this postseason?
Yeah, I'm gonna turn to the South Atlantic League, which is fascinating in its own way because it pairs up Rome and Lakewood, both of whom have not faced each other at all this season, going into this championship series. And I'm gonna take 2 guys from, one guy from Rome, 1 guy from Lakewood. They're both pitchers, and I hate to say that their stock increased so much over 1 start, but they certainly did enough to make your head spin and think, well, that leaves you something to think about heading into the offseason. The 2 guys I'm talking about are Franklin Quilome and Tuki Toussaint, both of which have been a little bit maddening at times because both guys have what feels like all the talent in the world. They're both high ceiling guys. Quilome in the Philly system, Toussaint in the Brave system. We've talked at length in the past about Tuki, coming over from the Diamondbacks, what that was like, his struggles last year in Rome. This is his 2nd year in Rome, put up a 3.88 ERA, 128 strikeouts in 132 and 1/3 innings. If you ever get the chance to see his curveball, it is one of the coolest pitches, I think, in all of baseball. Literally looks like it falls off a table. But he's struggled at times to repeat, his delivery, his control has struggled at times, averaging a walk every 2 innings. Quilome kind of the same way. He's a big guy at 6'6", 175 pounds. One of those guys you can really dream on, but just hasn't really put together the whole thing. 3.85 ERA this year, 130 strikeouts and 114 2/3 innings. Good numbers to be sure, and this was his first full season, first time ever pitching more than 50 innings in a season, in a regular season anyway. But both of these guys just were absolute horses when they needed to be in these playoffs. Quilome, in his 1 start for Lakewood, only gave up 1 hit, struck out 9 over 7 innings. Toussaint pitched last night in the South Atlantic League Finals, went a full 8 innings, gave up 1 run on 4 hits and struck out 6, did not walk anybody, which is a big point for him. So, what you want to do with a lot of these guys, and we're talking about it in a playoff sense, you want to win the ring. You want to enter the offseason with some momentum and feeling good about yourself. But when you're a pitcher, I talked to Tristan McKenzie in the Indians organization, who did not have a great start to end his year. That last start can kind of give you a lot to think about. And if these are the last starts for Quilome and Toussaint, after some uneven years, okay, now they can feel a little bit more optimistic heading into that offseason. With McKenzie, it was, okay, I know I need to do better in the later innings. So that's going to be a point of emphasis getting stronger. For these guys, they can say, okay, yes, I am good enough to succeed at these lower levels. Let me focus on that. Let me be a little more optimistic. Are we going to see both shoot up into the upper 50s of, top 100 prospects? Absolutely not over one start. But, this is the start they needed for us to feel good about them going into the offseason, and they certainly delivered.
One of our favorites is my guy, and it is the slugging and just crushing Tyler O'Neill of the Seattle Mariners, who we've talked about on the podcast before. Last year, coming into this year, it was a lot about the question marks surrounding Tyler O'Neill. The reason I think, I don't know how much more he can up his stock as a prospect, but the reason I think he continued to do so in the postseason is not only did he put to rest the questions about himself as a hitter in the regular season in the Southern League, being out of the California League, what it was going to do to his power. Obviously, a fantastic season for him. In the regular season, I think he's continued to show that no matter what, the ballpark changes, not going to be an issue. The atmosphere changes, you go from regular season to postseason, not going to be an issue. So far for Double-A Jackson, which again, one win away from winning a Southern League championship. 6 games this postseason. He's batting .435, .519, .870. He's homered 3 times. That's a .1388 OPS. He's also doubled once. He's driven in 8 of his team's 24 runs. He just continues getting better. Tyler O'Neill, there is nothing you can do to stop this guy at this point. The other thing that I found interesting, by the way, Jackson has played 6 postseason games so far. They've only used 9 position players in those 6 postseason games. Everybody's played, it looks like, every inning so far, according to their postseason team stats, which I find interesting. But Tyler O'Neill just continues to be an absolute force at the plate, and he's got Jackson coming up with big hits, go-ahead doubles, go-ahead homers in the postseason. He's got him 1 win away from a ring in the Southern League.
Yeah, and I'll go back to what I said, I think it was last week. If O'Neill can run a streak like this, like he has through the postseason, you do legitimately have to start talking about him for Player of the Year. I know USA Today named Alex Bregman their minor league player of the year, and then Baseball America named Yohan Moncada their player of the year. Both probably better overall prospects than Tyler O'Neill, but the season he's put together and then now the postseason he's put together, I mean, you just have to take a long look at that and think there's nothing he could have done better this year.
Pretty remarkable.
We'll have to see if they wrap it up before we crown him or anything like that. But it has been really, really remarkable from Tyler O'Neill.
If you want to crown him, then crown. No, Mississippi, by the way, is the adversary for Jackson in that the Double-A affiliate of the Atlanta Braves. The Braves have a lot of successful teams in the postseason right now as well. We've seen that throughout a handful of systems. The Mariners, the Braves, the Yankees. I mean, teams that just have minor league affiliates throughout the postseason at all the different ranks. And so that's been really interesting to see as well. So that'll do it for this week's 3 strikes. One foul ball that we did want to discuss this week. The AAA manager of the Las Vegas 51s, the New York Mets organization, Wally Backman, made it known this week that he had resigned. There was some early discussion as to whether it was a firing, whether it was a resignation, maybe some issues between the front office staff and Wally Backman as to how he had handled certain players. But, Sam, he's been one of our guys who we've really liked to talk to over the last few seasons since I started with MILB.com, I know certainly. And, Wally Backman was up for a managerial job in the major leagues a few years ago. That didn't happen. He said that is really what he wants. He wants to be a major league manager, a major league coach. But this was an interesting story to come out at the end of the season.
Yeah, and it's kind of sad because, living in New York these last couple of years, you get to see who kind of is a legend in the city. And I wouldn't say Wally Backman's a legend, but he's certainly a fan favorite. And I know a lot of Mets fans are kind of rooting for him. They would love to see him. I know his name had come up in the past, if Terry Collins ever got fired or even when Terry Collins first got the job, should Wally Backman be considered. So I know Mets fans really like him. From our standpoint, he was always a really good quote, always really good, always honest. When we were able to talk to him about certain players, he himself said, between Buffalo, between Las Vegas, he had gotten to work with guys like Nimmo, Conforto, Syndergaard, Travis d'Arnaud, I think Matt Harvey in there. So this is a guy who, touched a lot of the talents who you're now seeing on that really well homegrown Mets roster. It was kind of disappointing to hear just, the way it went down. There were rumors that, or at least from the Mets side, apparently it was leaked that, the Mets wanted him to hit Nimmo lead off more often, and he didn't do that. He kind of went against the wishes of the club. He still had Nimmo bat lead off 30 times this year. and he batted second 54 times, so that's a little weird. And also that he didn't bat Conforto against left-handers a lot. He got 41 at bats against left-handers compared to 87 against right-handers. That seems like a pretty predictable split. Either way, it'll be sad from our standpoint to not have Wally Backman to call on for these Las Vegas games. We'll see how he lands, if he can get a major league job, or if we'll still be talking about him as minor league manager, just in a different organization.
So that'll do it for Three Strikes and Our One Foul Ball for the 76th episode of the Show Before the Show podcast. And coming up after a brief pause, we head to the Florida State League and we catch up with a Florida State League champion, Mitch Keller of the FSL's now reigning title winners, the Bradenton Marauders, the Class A advanced affiliate of the Pittsburgh Pirates. And Mitch, the fifth-ranked prospect in that system, he joins us to talk about winning a title in Bradenton, his full season in West Virginia, and a whole lot more coming up next. Just days removed from winning a Florida State League championship with your Bradenton Marauders, Mitch Keller, the Pittsburgh Pirates prospect right-hander out of Cedar Rapids, Iowa, joins the show. Back home now is Mitch, who's the fifth-ranked prospect in the Pirates organization. What's it feel like to be back home? I mean, it's, third professional season, drafted in 2014, the whirlwind of full season basically at the low A level with the West Virginia Power. Then all of a sudden you're in Bradenton. Then all of a sudden you're in the playoffs. All of a sudden you win a ring, and now you're home. I mean, what have the last few weeks been like?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a wild 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks there at the end there, winning the championship, and then just being home. I mean, being home is always great, being with your family and friends, seeing them again after a long time being away. But no, it's great. I mean, it was amazing winning that championship.
And what kind of welcome did you get home? Was it kind of like a champion's welcome, or was it just like, oh, Mitch is back?
No, it's just kind of like, oh, Mitch is back. I mean, my brother's here, and my parents picked me up from the airport, so I mean, that was cool. Just being home, and then just being able to see them at the airport, and then just be able to see family, extended family this weekend and all that. So I mean, it'll be a good time.
Well, let's run through Mitch's stages of his career a little bit so far. Drafted in the second round back in 2014, out of high school in Cedar Rapids. Spent some time with the GCL Pirates in 2014. Then 2015, just 6 appearances, a forearm strain, kind of limited Mitch in action last year in the Appy League. But then this year, wire to wire, West Virginia, 23 starts at West Virginia, and really good numbers there, an 8-5 record and a 2.46 ERA. And then you get to call to Bradenton, which comes with 1 outing left in the regular season on August 30th. You go out 6 shutout innings in your Class A advanced debut. What was that like to get? I mean, the first in-season promotion is always, I would imagine, a pretty strange experience, but especially to get it so late in the year. What kind of went through your mind when you were told, all right, you're going up to the Florida State League, you're going to help with the playoff push there?
I was really excited when they told me. I wasn't really expecting it, to be honest. I was actually getting prepared to go on a road trip to Columbia and pitch my last start there. Against the Fireflies. So, I mean, I wasn't really expecting it, but then they told me that I was headed out the next morning. I mean, it was kind of frantic, packing up everything, and then obviously getting in Bradenton and then being able to start there was just, I mean, I had a lot of nerves going too, because, new team, new atmosphere and everything. You want to do well for them and prove you belong. I mean, so it was really exciting too. Just I had a lot of adrenaline going there.
Yeah, and what does it kind of feel like to be called up in that situation for a team that is looking to, compete in the playoffs, clinch a title, that kind of thing? I mean, you kind of have the role of a ringer, right? You're a guy they bring in just to pitch for these playoffs. What does it feel like to be in that role?
It was a huge honor to be able to get that call up to help them out, because I mean, they're calling you up to help them win. I mean, that means you have they're looking for you to do something special for them, and I was just happy that I could help them get those 2 victories, the 2 games I did start in the playoffs, and then JT Brubaker shoved too. I mean, he did really well to get the other 2 wins, and it was just a huge collective group win there.
And Mitch, I kind of want to jump back a little bit. Tyler mentioned last year, you were limited to only the 6 starts, 19 2/3 innings because of a forearm strain. You're coming back this year, and this is supposed to be your second full-ish type season. You end up jumping from 19 2/3 innings to 130 1/3 innings this year. How were you able to kind of put together that season, especially coming off, the injuries that you had last year? How were you able to power through for a full summer and kind of put that injury history behind you?
Just going back to the off season. I mean, just getting myself in really good shape, and I knew it was going to be a big year for me coming off the injury. I mean, I still got a lot of innings in last year that weren't really recorded, like in extended spring training and then going to instructional league. I mean, I got some good innings in, but I mean, obviously not as many as this year. And I just knew I had to come really prepared if I wanted to make a full season team, and I did, and they rewarded me by putting me there. And then, I mean, just continuing like the strength program and conditioning throughout the season really kept me strong throughout the whole season to be able to perform for the whole year.
And one thing that kind of jumped out to me in your season, I know you said, there's a lot of innings that weren't recorded in 2015, but in the ones that were, you walked 16 guys in those 19 innings. This year, you only walked 19 in 130. What allowed you to have that jump in control? I mean, that's not exactly a switch people can just flip and say, I'm going to automatically throw in the strike zone now.
Yeah.
How are you able to work on that particular skill when it comes to pitching?
I mean, going back to, high school, I was always kind of known as a strike thrower, and I think that year in Bristol, I just like coming off an injury. I don't know if I was kind of timid, didn't want to like hurt myself even more. I just didn't have like the aggressive mentality like I usually do. And then just coming into this year in spring training, I just came with the mindset of, here you go, hit it. I mean, just the mindset that my stuff's better than yours and that you won't be able to hit it mentality and just aggressiveness. And that really helped me throw a lot more strikes, I think. And then just some mechanical things too that we worked on in instructional league after the year in Bristol.
Mitch mentioned his brother earlier. John Keller is a pitcher in the Baltimore Orioles organization who spent this season with Class A Advanced Frederick and Double A Bowie. And Mitch, to be able to have somebody who you can bounce stuff off of, and somebody that I would imagine you spent a lot of, innings thrown in the backyard to when you were a kid and a lot of days on the same field, what has that been like? I mean, John joins the professional ranks a year before you, so it's not like he's a seasoned veteran by the time you get into pro ball, but a guy who's got some college level experience and who's been there, knows the routine, knows what professional ball is like. How much has that helped early on in these stages of your career?
I mean, it's just helped tremendous. I mean, being able to call him, talk to him anytime I want, just kind of giving me insight on anything. I know most guys don't really have that. They're going through it for their first time, like I was too, but I just kind of had that person to fall back on and, get little tidbits, hints here and there. And then just in the off season, be able to throw with someone. I know some guys from up north don't really have anyone to throw with. Just having him to be able to throw with and work out with is huge. I mean, we're just huge motivators for each other.
On a similar note to that too, I mean, it's obviously he's familiar with this experience being in spring training in Florida and all that kind of stuff. You guys, as a Pirates affiliate, your Class A advanced team in Bradenton at the complex, you got the safety blanket of having a brother who's been through it. You also get, when you get to Bradenton and you get to that level, you get to be around staff members who a lot of other minor leaguers don't have the luxury of being around. I mean, that's one of the real nice parts about having a complex located team. When you got to Bradenton from West Virginia, what was the biggest change, being around medical staff, training staff, strength and conditioning people? I would imagine a large contingent of, front office and developmental people that maybe you don't have when you're at some of these different levels. What stood out most about that?
Honestly, just the facilities stood out the most. Having that, coming from a low A team to basically a big league setup there at McKechnie Field. I mean, that was the main thing. It was really awesome. I mean, all the coordinators were there too because the seasons were winding down from everywhere else too. So they were all down there for instructs, and they were all there watching. So I mean, it's cool to have everybody there. But our coordinators do a really good job of making sure they stop at every affiliate. I think they were there at least 4 times in West Virginia too. So I mean, it wasn't that big of a difference having them there. But I'd say just like the big league setup kind of was the main thing.
And Mitch, just to go to back to your kind of development this year as a pitcher, kind of stuff wise, you look at some of the scouting reports on you. You're a lot of plus grades on your fastball. People really like your curveball as well. They say your changeup's kind of coming along. From your view, at least from a stuff standpoint, what was the biggest way you grew this summer?
The biggest way I grew, I'd have to say, is probably being able to locate fastballs where I wanted to, and then towards the end of the year, just really working on my changeup and my curveball for strikes earlier in the count, which I think really helped me get hitters off fastballs, which I know when I go up in levels, or if I want to go up in levels, I'm going to have to be able to throw off speed for strikes. So I thought that was a huge stepping stone for me.
And one stretch I wanted to touch on as well, I think it was a 33 scoreless streak you had there in the middle of the year. We all wish we could be on a run of success like that. But when it's your job to throw up zeros and you're doing it consistently start after start, what was it like to be in the middle of that streak, and then what was it like when it finally ended?
I didn't really know what was going on until the end there. I was like, dang, I'm going on a pretty good streak here, I think. And then when it ended, I wasn't mad about it or anything. I was in the heat of the game. I think it was the first playoff game. I gave up 3 runs on a mistake I made, but I mean, it was cool to go through it. It was really cool to go through that.
Mitch Keller of the Bradenton Marauders back home in Iowa now for the offseason. Are you headed to Instructs?
No, I'm not this year.
So you get a chance to finally relax and take on a full offseason. When you look ahead to 2017, what stands out about this offseason? Because you're not coming off an injury. You're coming off a very, very successful season. You get to win a championship. I mean, at this stage, I would imagine there's a lot of just breath catching from the last few weeks especially. But what's something that you're anxious to, work on and get accomplished heading into 2017 to start the year strong?
Honestly, just taking a few weeks off here, getting relaxed and letting my body recover a little bit, and then, just getting right back in the weight room, getting stronger, even more stronger and better condition for next year, because I know it's going to be the same one. It's going to be the same length this season. I'm going to have to be even better shape if I want to perform the way I did this year. So that's what I'm really looking forward to, just getting bigger and stronger in the weight room again.
Bigger and stronger and better shape. John's big. John's a big dude. If we were going to have like an arm wrestling match between you, John's listed at 6'5", 210. Mitch is 6'3", 195, which is no slouch, obviously. But who's winning that over the offseason?
Oh, he is by far. He's always whooped up on me. So he's still a lot bigger than I am.
We all know now, John. We all know.
Yeah, no, you're on. Well, the one last thing I wanted to get to, before we let you go and enjoy this offseason, just how different is it going to kind of feel going into this? I mean, now you're coming off this season, a lot more Pirates fans know you, a lot more national fans know you. You're a top 100 prospect. Does anything feel different in that respect entering this offseason, or a guy who kind of blocks that stuff out?
I try not to look at that stuff too much. Just kind of trying to block it out and not really think about it. Just kind of go out and do what I do best, and just keep that stuff to the side and just go out and play the game and have fun with it. I mean, it's the best game in the world, so try not to get too stressed out about it. But it'll be fun coming back into spring training with kind of the expectation that I have to perform like I did last year. I mean, I kind of look forward to that.
And getting to go to spring training at a place where you just won a Florida State League title is pretty cool. Mitch Keller is the 5th-ranked prospect in the Pittsburgh Pirates organization and coming off of a title in the Sunshine State with a Class A advance Bradenton Marauders. Mitch, congratulations on the end of the season, and thanks a ton for giving us a few minutes after just getting home, like 20 minutes ago, I think. And congrats on a heck of a year, man, and we'll be talking to you down the road.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it a lot.
We've got some good nonfiction stories to get to this week and some good fictional stories to cover this week with Benjamin Hill, who joins the show with a couple of really cool things we'll get a chance to talk about. Hey, Ben.
Hey, Tyler. Hey, Sam.
Hello.
Let's start in Stockton. This is a really cool story that's up on the site right now from Ben's California League / PCL / Pioneer / Northwest League trip that took place, the big Western swing at the late stages of the minor league season. And Ben's got a story up right now on whether or not Casey at the Bat, Ernest Thayer's comic ballad, was inspired by Stockton, California, and minor league baseball, or at least the very early incarnations of minor league / at that time kind of major league baseball in Stockton, California. This is something that I never even knew was a possibility, but Stockton maybe gave rise to the Mudville Nine. I had no idea that this was a thing.
It is a thing, Tyler. And
It's really
now
cool.
you have an idea about it. It
Now
is
I know.
cool. I was aware of this story. Again, this is something I pursued when I was in Stockton last month as part of the trip you mentioned. I was aware of this going in because I did know that the Stockton Ports, who are a charter member of the current incarnation of the California League, and they've been the Ports since 1946, except for 2000 and 2001 when they changed their name to the Mudville Nine. And that was in recognition of Stockton's history as potentially the location of, Ernest Thayer's Casey at the Bat. So when I went to Stockton, I got in touch with the team beforehand and said, what do you guys know about Casey at the Bat and Stockton's connection, and whether or not we can say that this is where the poem took place. And myself and the general manager of the team, Brian Meadows, ended up going to a local museum, the Hagen Museum, a very impressive museum, and talking to the museum CEO and history curator, a guy by the name of Todd Rostaller. I'm sorry, Todd, if I'm getting your name wrong. And, so we met him, and he had a lot of archival materials, different, baseball memorabilia from the 19th century when Stockton had a team in the California League, not the California League we know and love today, but it was the California League. They had a team in 1887, 88, around the time that Ernest Thayer wrote the poem. Stockton was called Mudville for good reason, because it would be incredibly muddy for huge portions of the year and virtually impassable. And, got some quotes about how it got the name Mudville and everything related to that. And Ernest Thayer, originally wrote the poem for the San Francisco Examiner. Stockton's only 70 miles away. Stockton and San Francisco had teams in the same league at that time. So there's a lot to say that Casey at the Bat was certainly influenced by Stockton. But, I'm not the first person to tackle this subject, obviously. There's a town in Massachusetts, Holliston, that also claims that they are the site of the poem because Ernest Thayer was from there originally. That city was also called Mudville for its own reasons.
That was another thing that I didn't know. I didn't realize that we just had all of these cities that had absolutely no pavement structure. I mean, I guess it makes sense, but especially for like a late 19th century East Coast city, you would have figured, they had a bit more in the way of streets and sidewalks for Holliston, Massachusetts. Stockton, I guess, makes a little bit more sense, being that it was so far out west in the 1800s, but it was just mud everywhere.
Having been around Holliston, calling it a city is a generous term.
Well, at least like a civilized area where you would have figured they would have been like, hey, let's lay down some cobblestones here, everybody.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I think Stockton, maybe certainly by modern standards, is more of a city than Holliston. But anyway.
Yeah, and certainly in the 19th century, it was certainly more of a city because it was, it formed very quickly in the wake of the gold rush, and then was an industrial center in California. Being on the water, being a port. So a lot of traffic there, a lot of people settling there from other parts through the gold rush and through, business along the water. The San Joaquin River is where Stockton's located. So anyway, as I was saying, I'm not the first person to tackle this. There are a lot of things that point to Stockton being an influence, but you just have to come ultimately to the conclusion that, Thayer maybe wasn't thinking of any one place, any one set of players. He just was a baseball fan who used his specific reference points, and so Stockton played a part. But is Stockton definitively Mudville? We'll never be able to say. But the fact is, they were called themselves the Mudville Nine. Certainly, Stockton's baseball history in the 19th century almost certainly influenced elements of the poem, and that's a really cool thing. And by the way, I think we all know the poem, Casey at the Bat, but it's a phenomenal poem. I mean, yes, a comic ballad. It is not written with great skill or subtlety, but it is a great poem. And for all those looking for a great rendition, track down Tug McGraw with the Philadelphia Pops Orchestra doing it in the wake of the Phillies winning the 1980 World Series. I have 2 copies of that on vinyl, being such a cool guy that I am. But it is a phenomenal rendition. So much energy and creativity, and I put it on every year. And I can't find it online. And I think I need to be the one who gets that up on YouTube.
Yeah, there you go.
But that would require ambition and initiative.
And one of those fancy vinyl to digital recorders.
Yeah.
I'll give you that excuse if you need it.
All right, that's the excuse I need. But I want to get it out there to the masses. Tug McGraw and the Philadelphia Pops Orchestra. Casey the Bat. Check it out.
Well, how defensive did you get a feeling of, like, the people of Stockton are? Are they just like, oh, this could be a cool fact, we'll take it if they're going to give it to us? Or is this kind of like the baseball version of Springfield when it comes to the Simpsons, with every Springfield claiming some piece of the Simpsons version of the town?
Yeah, and I think that's what it is. I didn't get a sense that Stockton, their Convention and Visitors Bureau is not saying come visit Mudville, and Holliston seems to be the city or town. Sorry, the small town. How much do you hate this city?
I don't hate it at all. I'm just saying it's not.
It's all a vehicle for Sam's personal grudge against Holliston, Massachusetts.
Yeah, all Central Mass is going to get really angry at me now.
Yeah, but Holliston has actually done more civically to say it's us. And they've had reenactment games, and they have a statue of Casey. And again, Ernest there grew up in neighboring. Help me out here, Sam. Worcester.
It's just Worcester.
Thayer grew up in neighboring Worcester. And so I think Holliston has done more in recent years to say, no, this is us. Mudville is us. Stockton certainly has a claim. But even at the local history museum, the guy I talked to, he was very ambivalent about it, and I quote him at the end of the piece, and he says he thinks Stockton probably has more claim, but I think it's dubious. I don't think Thayer was thinking of Stockton when he put it together. I think a lot of this just happened. He took his personal experiences and came up with names, and I love this quote. He came up with names so that they would fit in with the meter of his doggerel. Doggerel.
I was thinking when I read this story, I would not, if I was like back in my hotel room or wherever you did this transcribing it, I would not have had a clue what that last word was. I don't think I've ever heard. Meter of his doggerel is like a more sophisticated phrasing than I've ever come up with in my life. So nice job nailing that down, because I'm
not bragging. I knew it as soon as he said it. I remembered it when I was transcribing. I was like, oh, awesome. That's the part of our talk when he said meter of his doggerel. It was exciting. I've never been able to quote someone with that word. Yeah.
It's probably the first time that word has appeared on the site, I would imagine.
I was thinking that.
I would hope so.
And I take pride all through the long period of time I've written for this site of just being like, I got that in, and now I got this in, and get obscure pop culture references and strange words. And, when you do the same thing year after year, you need things to keep it fresh. And the meter of his doggerel. Check it out.
All right, so now we want to stay in the Cal League. You had another story. I think this came out last Friday about. I love the title of this: "Marriage, Kids, and Baseball." It sounds like some movie that could be coming out. Just your next in the line of like The Rookie and that kind of stuff. Disney baseball movies. But you got to talk in Visalia with the I'm gonna get this wrong. Baja Nara. I don't know.
It's not Baja Nararu.
Yeah, that's not it at all. I'm so sorry to the family for getting that.
By the way, in the middle of this, I texted Sam and said, "You're going to take this next question because I don't want to be the one to butcher this name."
And
so
I just confident when you said that.
I threw Sam so under the bus, and I apologize.
I think it's Bajanaru.
And
Alyssa and Jeff Bajanaru. Please let me know if I'm saying your name wrong. Anyway, I wrote an article about Alyssa and Jeff Bajanaru. And the premise of the article was that basically they've been married for 14 years. They've been a couple for 16 years. They now have 2 kids, age 9 and 7. And the entirety of their relationship has been almost the entirety of it has been within the world of professional baseball, specifically minor league baseball. So this is one of the more in-depth stories I've done from my road trips. And it's about, just kind of how they made the relationship work and the sort of life you have to live and commit to when you are living a life within professional baseball. So they met when they were both in college. Jeff gets drafted, or not gets drafted, signs with the White Sox as a free agent right after college as a 5th-year senior. And they just started dating. And then there you go. They're together 16 years later. Jeff made it to the major leagues and pitched parts of 3 seasons in the majors, was out of baseball for a couple of years, at which point they had kids, then got a coaching job with the D-backs. He's now in Visalia after 2 years with Missoula, and the kids are homeschooled. They spend the baseball season wherever Jeff has been assigned, and the story is just about how they've made it work. And I've gotten really good response to the story on the website, more so than the average story I write. And so I think people like reading about marriage, kids, and baseball and family life and how you make a go of it in unorthodox situations.
The thing that's so crazy, I mean, to stay in the professional life when you're playing is one thing, but the professional coaching life at the minor league level is just as much of a, to use the most overused term in minor league baseball, it's just as much of a grind to be a coach at the minor league level. Jeff, the pitching coach for the Visalia Rawhide. And so that, I mean, what did you get a sense of what life has been like in the change from a playing career to a coaching career? I mean, obviously there are kids now. There's a lot different stuff to worry about on the real side of life, but how did it change when the playing days ended and the coaching days began? Did you get a sense of that?
I did a little bit, and actually it became, obviously adding kids to the mix is a whole nother level of things you have to consider. But in a sense, it gets easier when you become a coach. Not that it's an easy life per se, but then when you're assigned, to Visalia for the 2016 season, you're going to be in Visalia, and then therefore the family can make arrangements to be in Visalia for that entire year from early April, and they're still in the playoffs now, in mid-September. And that's different from being a player because, where you might start the season, you might go up and down and back and forth 3 times throughout the course of a season. So trying to balance that with a wife and kids who are traveling with you would become a lot more onerous, and they didn't do that portion of the relationship, when the kids were involved. But it kind of worked out for them. The kids were born in the brief period of time when Jeff was out of baseball, and then he spent his first 3 years as a coach in the Arizona Summer League, which just plays at spring training backlots in Arizona, so they could still stay pretty rooted in their home while Jeff coached. And now as the kids are older and they're homeschooling, they get to spend 2 summers in Missoula. They get to now live in Visalia, and they get a real taste of this baseball life, and it seems like it's working out.
It is a crazy industry that the players and coaches find themselves in during the season because it is, a lot of long hours, but a lot of really cool opportunities for stuff like this, which is neat as well. So go check out that story, which is up on the site now too. And actually, Visalia kind of gets us into our final topic of the week as well. Visalia is one of the teams currently fighting its way for a California League championship, and there are 2 teams, one of which has already been eliminated from the California League playoffs that we will never see again. The Bakersfield Blaze were knocked out, and the High Desert Mavericks have moved on. So Bakersfield falls to Visalia. High Desert, the other team that will be contracted from the California League, moves on. They will play for a California League title against Visalia, and that's coming up. And for so long, I mean, when we talked about contraction in the early stages of when that story came about, we talked about how interesting it would be if it was Bakersfield versus High Desert, with both teams not going to be in the league for 2017, if they would have had the chance to play for a title. One of those teams does make it. What have you gathered around High Desert in this last chapter for them, where they'll get, at least 1 more home game, maybe as many as 3 more home games, but the last chance for the High Desert Mavericks could culminate in them celebrating a championship for the final game ever at that ballpark.
Yeah, it's a great story. But you got to say, I think the Bakersfield Blaze, with having the core of their front office have been in Bakersfield for longer than the core of the High Desert front office, and Sam Lynn Stadium, where Bakersfield plays, is 75 years old compared to about 25 years old in High Desert. There's just been a lot more attention and energy and emotion,
definitely,
it seems, around Bakersfield. And I think that was the sort of, to the extent there's a popular choice in something like this, I think the popular choice is really to see Bakersfield go all the way. High Desert has not gotten the attention, and there hasn't been quite the level of emotion and poignancy with their final days. But, that's still been there 25 years. There are still fans there who want to go out, with a championship, not to mention the players to shut down the franchise, with the championship. And I think it's really cool the High Desert Mavericks have made it. I think we all wanted to see High Desert versus Bakersfield in the finals, which would be pretty amazing. But if it's not going to be Bakersfield, I'm glad it's Visalia, because Visalia has not won a championship since 1978. And as I mentioned,
the Alligator, correct?
Yeah, and that's due to the curse of the alligator, because the last time they won in 1978, Joe Charbonneau, a young Joe Charbonneau, was on the team. A couple years removed from his breakthrough rookie year with the Cleveland Indians, and basically his only real season in baseball in Major League impact. But anyway, Joe Charbonneau had a pet alligator, Chopper, who was kept in a bathtub, tried to escape, died. Hit his head in trying to escape from the bathtub. And the Visalia Rawhide have been cursed by this alligator, by Chopper's ghost, ever since. And they're actually wearing gator skin jerseys. I don't think it's real gator skin, but they're wearing gator skin jerseys throughout.
I was wondering what those jerseys were, because I saw those in photos from Game 3 in Bakersfield, and I was like, what is this top that Visalia's got going on? Now that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, when I was in Visalia, not this year, I was in Visalia this year, but the last time I was in Visalia in 2013, I wrote a story about Chopper's ghost and the curse of the alligator, and the team has really ran with that every year that they've been in the playoffs. They've ran with that. This year they said we're going even further, attempt to really become one with the spirit of this dead alligator. We're wearing these jerseys. I think it's a great story, and so that's the second longest title. The Eugene Emeralds won the Northwest League Championship yesterday. And they hadn't won outright since 1975, the longest drought in all of minor league baseball. They'd been co-champions in 1980, but hadn't won outright since 75. Syracuse has not won since 76. That's the longest drought right now. And right beyond that, Visalia Rawhide, 1978, been tormented by the ghost of a dead alligator.
Also, can somebody run this up the chain of the Chicago Cubs that they wear goat-themed jerseys for the rest of the way this year? Because that's the only next logical step at this stage, right?
It really is. And I think if Visalia wins with the gator skin jerseys, then the Cubs basically can't not win.
No, you have to at that point.
Yeah, I mean, you have no choice, so get on it, guys.
So maybe it's a good thing the Red Sox curse is over, because then they would just have to wear big Bambino faces.
Giant Babe Ruth faces.
Yeah.
Like when El Paso had the Chihuahuas on the front of their jerseys. Yeah. That could work.
Yeah, just a giant Babe Ruth, like maybe a ghost Babe Ruth.
The one from The Sandlot, not the actual Babe Ruth, just the actor from The Sandlot. I think that'd be even cooler. Ben's stuff is all up on the site right now. You can check out the stories from the California League at MILB.com and more on the blog as well, bensbiz.mlblogs.com. And you can follow Benjamin Hill on Twitter. He is there at bensbiz. And man, getting down to it. Off-season stuff begins in earnest. I'm sure we'll be talking about the promo seminar and getting ready for the off-season, all that kind of stuff here within the next week to 2 weeks, which is nuts. But Ben, always exciting to even get to that stuff, which isn't quite the lifeblood of the game as the on-field stuff, but already at this point of the year, we're still excited for it. We're excited. We'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, we're excited for everything, and I'm excited to talk to you next week. And programming note: these two stories we just talked about today, about Casey the Bat, about the Bajanaru family in Visalia. Those are my last MILB.com road trip stories. Still plenty more to come on the blog, because it really never ends in terms of the material I have to get out there. But this is really for us now the transition to the off season. So join us. Do not abandon us.
That is some of the best stuff too, because when you are in like the doldrums of the early stages of winter, and Ben still got stuff going up on the blog from the road trips, it kind of helps you feel like summer isn't too far off. So check it all out, and we'll talk to you next week, Ben.
Sounds good.
Big thanks to Mitch Keller and to Benjamin Hill, as always, for joining the show, and that will put the finishing touches on episode number 76. We're heading to the final days of the minor league postseason, and I know the AAA Championship Series, the AAA Finals, and the PCL and the International League are kind of what a lot of us are keeping an eye on, because they lead to one final step, which is always fun in the AAA National Championship game, which is kind of the pinnacle of the MILB calendar. But Sam, what are you keeping an eye on most in these last few days of the minor league postseason?
Yeah, I was just going to bring up the fact that, you can watch the AAA National Championship on MILB.TV.
You can.
It's going to be next Tuesday, September 20th in Memphis, as we were talking about earlier, at AutoZone Park. So for those of you who are cord cutters, you will get a chance to see that game on your laptop. For those of you who still have cable packages, it'll actually be on NBC Sports Network, which is kind of fun and exciting. But that AAA National Championship, we don't know who's going to be in it yet. It's always just kind of a fun game. It's literally just gravy on the top of the season for these guys. But it's not a glorified all-star game. They are actually fighting for a trophy and for another ring here. So It's the last baseball you'll be able to watch from a minor league standpoint until 2017. So, yeah, take advantage while you can.
So that's coming up on Tuesday, and between now and then, a lot of champions will be crowned, and we'll be back to recap them all in 1 week for episode number 77. Until then, thanks for tuning in. Get out to a game if you got one still remaining on the calendar somewhere near you, and watch somebody celebrate and pour a whole lot of liquids all over each other's heads and scream and shout and have a lot of fun. We'll talk to you next week.